Our next speaker is Dr. Jose Gomez. He'll be talking about cross-linking for infectious keratitis.
Thank you. This is my financial disclosure. We know that antimicrobial resistance has been a global problem in medicine. And over the few decades, we know that no major new types of antibiotics have been developed. Take, for instance, in ophthalmology, we know that fourth-generation fluoroquinolone has been used widely for prophylaxis, and we have been observing an increasement in the resistance for either gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. In the setting of a corneal infection, you can add two other problems. One is epithelial toxicity, especially when you use fortifying antibiotics, and the other problem is compliance. That's why when you have to deal with this type of situation, it's not only good to use one gun and one bullet, but maybe we can try to use additional strategies. So cross-linking, we know the effect on the cornea. It makes the cornea stronger. But not only that, it has a very important disinfectant effect. So when you have a corneal infection that you identified clinically or with imaging or microbiologically, you can try the topical medication, but when you get resistance or when you get corneal melting on low problems of adherence of the patient, we can start to use the PEC cross-linking. PEC cross-linking, which is the use of cross-linking for treatment of keratitis, has started a few years back, and based on some studies that I'm going to summarize for you. So in terms of bacterial infection, let's review some of the preclinical studies. And there are some evidence that was first shown by the group from Wilmer that showed that some gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria are susceptible to cross-linking in vitro. In vivo, in an animal model of infections, it also has been a good response with this type of treatment. In terms of case series, there are some case series coming from India and other parts of the world in which collagen cross-linking can resolve or can help to resolve some cases that are resistant to topical medication. A combination, or sometimes some studies show that even the cross-linking alone can be efficacious. So this is one case of Pseudomonas keratitis that we had in our clinic in Paulista Medical School that resolved well after we started the cross-linking treatment. And you can see here that after 2 to 3 weeks, we got a very nice result in this type of case. Let's take a look now for fungal keratitis. There are some preclinical studies, also the first ones came from the Wilmer group, that had not the same response that one that we had with the bacterial. So we needed to increase the exposure or the concentration of riboflavin to observe some of response of this treatment for fungi. In terms of clinical cases and clinical discussions, some of them case reports came in from India show good results in terms of decreasing the time of resolution of some of the fungal ulcers. So some cases from India, but we also observed in Brazil some cases that responded well, especially when you have a more superficial type of infection caused by a fungus. Let's take a look for Amoeba. And Amoeba has been a problem, but the in vitro results did not show a very good activity with the trophozoites and also with the cysts. Even in the in vivo model of Amoeba infection, we didn't observe a good response of the cross-linking treatment. But there are a few case reports that we find in the literature in which the patients were treated with cross-linking with good results in terms of resolution of the Amoeba infection. Now let's take a look at some of the multicentric, big multicentric and meta-analysis that we have in the literature. This is one that involved a few groups in Europe and the Middle East, in which they analyzed a couple of different infections. And the group analyzing these cases, they found that cross-linking, especially in the cases with corneal melting, can decrease the time of resolution of some of these cases. There's another study that involved 40 cases of corneal infection, and they noticed that the successful rate was higher for bacterial infection, better than in the fungal infection, and it should be avoided in eyes with history of previous herpes infection. It cannot be used, it's not a good option or alternative for herpes infection. In terms of meta-analysis, there are two now that's coming a third one that show exactly the same results that we presented. So it was good, especially for bacterial infection. This is one that started from more than 6,000 paper and finished with 30 paper that conclude that it was good for bacterial and Amoeba cases more than with the fungal keratitis, but they need more evidence. So what we have as some new perspectives. Well, the use of riboflavin with UV light, we have now other multicentric studies going on, especially the ones organized by the group of Hafezi. We now have some papers coming with accelerated cross-linking with good results, especially for bacterial keratitis. And now we have the new CI device that can be incorporated to the slit lamp that can facilitate the treatment in patients. But we also have the use of different chromophobes, like rose bangle. The group from Bascom-Palmer developed and shown in vitro very good results with the green light and rose bangle for bacterial and fungal, much better than the one we observe with riboflavin. And also, the clinical cases that they present also show good results. So in our institution in Paulista, we are doing some in vitro studies with fungal, some like Fusarium and Purpurcilium, and others bacteria with like Staphylococcus, Pseudomonas, and even with Mycobacterium, and we are getting very nice results with this prototype with a different type of green light and rose bangle. Amoeba also can have a result, and we started to do some clinical cases in which observed good results, maybe better than the ones with riboflavin for fungal keratitis and a few cases of Amoeba keratitis. So the take-home message, cross-linking can be considered as an adjunct treatment for infectious keratitis, especially when there is no response to conventional treatment. It has been proven to be efficient not only for bacteria, but some cases of more superficial fungal and Amoeba keratitis. Fast cross-linking and maybe the rose bangle or other photoactivated chromophobes can improve the results, making the procedure faster and safer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gomez.